Is Toya Wolfe. I am a writer from Chicago. As Amy stated, I grew up in the Robert Taylor homes, but sort of the bigger community outside of Robert Taylor is Bronzeville. And I grew up in Bronzeville in the 80s and 90s. So I've always been attracted to the work of Gwendolyn Brooks. This evening, I'll be sharing a few selections from Maud Martha. And I think this book, it feels so much like home. She writes about the streets that I'm familiar with, the theaters, the kind of housing that's always been pretty prevalent in Bronzeville. And a lot of people are familiar with We Real Cool or The Bean Eaters, or even In the Mecca, which is a very long poem about the Mecca Flats. The Mecca Flats were the first sort of high-rise project on State Street. So reading Gwendolyn Brooks, it just feels like my personal history. So as long as I am alive and writing, she will always inspire me. So I'll read two selections from Maud Martha. And also it's an auction item, as some of you already know. So let's get into it. The first selection will be Description of Maud Martha. What she liked was candy buttons and books and painted music, deep blue or delicate silver, and the wet sky so altering, viewed from the steps of the back porch, and dandelions. She would have liked a lotus or China asters or the Japanese iris or meadow lilies. Yes, she would have liked meadow lilies because the very word meadow made her breathe more deeply and either fling her arms or want to fling her arms, depending on who was by, rapturously up to whatever was watching in the sky. But dandelions were what she chiefly saw, yellow jewels for every day, studding the patched green dress of her backyard. She liked their demure prettiness, second to their everydayness, for in that latter quality, she thought she saw a picture of herself. And it was comforting to find what was common could also be a flower and could be cherished. To be cherished was the dearest wish of the heart of Maud Martha Brown. And sometimes when she was not looking at dandelions, for one would not be looking at them all the time, often there were chairs and tables to dust or tomatoes to slice or beds to make or grocery stores to be gone to. And in the colder months, there were no dandelions at all. It was hard to believe that a thing of only ordinary allurements, if the allurements of any flower could be ordinary, was as easy to love as a thing of heart-catching beauty. Such is her sister Helen, who was only 2 years past her own age of 7 and was almost her own height and weight and thickness. But oh, the long lashes, the grace, the little ways with the hands and feet. All right, and then I will share one more, and it's called At the Regal. If we were sort of together right now, I would say, raise your hand if you've ever heard of the Regal or been to the Regal. But for those of you who don't know, the Regal Theater was this big, beautiful theater on the South Side. If you've ever been to the Chicago Theater, it was just as lush and just as important. And for as long as I can remember, my mother and grandmother, they all have stories about the Regal Theater, about how Nat King Cole sang there, and Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, and Miles Davis. This was a special, special place. And so when I ran across this piece at the Regal, it was great to just sort of have this history sort of locked in. So this is At the Regal. The applause was quick and the silence final. That was what Martha, 16 and very erect, believed as she manipulated herself through a heavy, outflowing crowd in the lobby of the Regal Theater on 47th and South Park. She thought of fame and of that singer, that Howie Joe Jones, that tall, oily brown thing with hair set in thickly pomaded waves, with cocky teeth, eyes like thin glass, with a voice. that Howie Joe's publicly described as rugged honey. She had not been favorably impressed. She had not been able to thrill. Not even when he threw his head back so that his waves dropped low, shut his eyes sweetly, writhed, thrust out his arms, really gave them to the world, and thundered out with passionate seriousness, with deep meaning, and with high purpose. Sweet soul. Maud Martha's brow wrinkled. The audience had applauded, had stamped its strange, hilarious foot, had put its fingers to its mouth, whistled, had sped a shininess up to its eyes. But now part of it was going home, as she was, and its face was dull again. It had not been helped, not truly, not well. For a hot half hour, it had put that light gauze across its miseries and monotonies. But now, here they were again, ungauzed, self-assertive, cankerous as ever. The audience had gotten a fairy gold, and it was not going to spend the rest of its life or even the rest of the night being grateful to Howie Joe Jones. No, it would not make plans to raise a hard monument to him. She swung out of the lobby, turned north. The applause was quick, but the silence was final. So what was the singer's profit? Money? You had to admit, Howie Joe Jones was making money. Money that was raced to the track, to the Delisa, to women, to the sellers of cars, to Capper and Capper, to Henry C. Lytton and Company for those suits in which he looked like an upright corpse. She read all about it in the columns of the Chicago Defender's gossip departments. She had never understood how people could parade themselves on a stage like that, exhibit their precious private identities, shake themselves about the very foolish for 1,000 eyes. She was going to keep herself to herself. She did not want fame. She did not want to be a star. To create a role, a poem, picture, music, a rapture in stone, great, but not for her. What she wanted was to donate to the world a good Maud Martha. That was the offering, the bit of art that could not come from any other. She would polish and hone that. Thank you.